Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned the word dream because I think as a elementary school student, I wasn't really a great student, even through high school actually, but especially elementary school. My head was just really in the clouds all the time. I was looking out the window and daydreaming constantly. And I think that kind of served me well. I think later in my career, I didn't realize how valuable the skill of daydreaming can be.
Absolutely.
But I was a real daydreamer when I was young. And ironically, not very good at math. I mean, a lot of people think architects should be great at math.
Yes,
I actually only became really, really good at math when I got into college and university. Somehow something clicked for me then. But when I was young, my family members, my cousins, we all knew somebody or had friends or uncles, whatever, that were in the building business. So we got these odd jobs just working on construction sites. And it was a way of getting some money on the weekends and just kind of like being around construction sites. And to me, it was always kind of fascinating to see. So that there was that side of it. And then I had a friend, his mom was a housekeeper for a really famous architect. I didn't really know who this guy really was at the time. I just knew he was like this kind of famous architect. And we used to go over to his house and water the plants and do some kind of cleanup stuff on the weekends. Not too often, but every once in a while. I found out later he was Arthur Erickson, kind of famous Canadian architect. Wow. And I didn't know who at the time. I just thought, wow, this is. And he had a library and with these amazing books. And of course, growing up, my mom had the books. So now I'm kind of making a connection to architecture from art. And I just got the odd opportunity to flip through some of the books in his library and learn a little bit about what amazing buildings there were around the world. And so I got kind of exposed to architecture from both sides, from the construction side and then from design. And I think once I saw the kind of artistic potential of what building could be, that it could be something more than just a kind of sum of the parts, that it's not just a bunch of wood stuck together, but there's kind of an experiential and kind of qualitative, even beyond, a kind of almost ethereal quality of what architecture can, and spiritual, all of those kind of things that are so hard to describe in words. That to me that was really fascinating. How just a kind of building that's made out of simple materials could create such a sense of feeling, excitement, mood, capture this almost like music, you know. It's the kind of thing that's very hard to describe. But when you're in an amazing work of architecture, you just feel that sense of awe, Try to break it down. What is it that you're actually feeling? It's the combination of the space, the light in the space, the sounds, the material, the smell, and then the layering of kind of cultural significance depending on where you are in the world. I mean, that sense of place comes through very much in building when you're traveling. I mean, you think about when we travel, I don't know about you guys, but probably 99.9% of the time, if I'm traveling around the world, I'm going to look at buildings. It's like
absolutely,
and specific buildings. I'll travel around the world to look at a very specific building sometimes, just to make a special trip, because there's something about a building that captures all of these things about culture, space, time. And now many years later, now becoming an architect, is how do you repeat that? How do you think of places that you've been around the world where you've had this just sense of awe and incredible experience of space and time, and how do you break that down into components and try to repeat that or play with that? Like, you know, what are the elements of architecture that you bring into play that can create a sense of feeling, poetry, you know, that kind of gets beyond just the mundane everyday. To me, almost like that's a pilgrimage every architect needs to.
Definitely.
The ultimate kind of, it's not just architecture, but then the next layer of it is the complete and total integration of nature and building together. So for me, kind of being exposed to Arthur and learning about kind of West Coast architecture, especially modern West Coast architecture and how it evolved in this context, the landscape and building kind of blending into one thing was so much a part of the kind of DNA of kind of West Coast modernism, almost what people around the world traveled to come to BC to look at what some of these guys were doing here. Amazing. Because they were really capturing something.
It was such a pleasure to speak with Arno Matis from Arno Matis Architects. Thanks for watching AL13 Showcase, featuring architects in your city doing their best work to make your city a better livable place. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a like, tell us what you liked about it in the comments, and for more weekly content, make sure to hit subscribe.